Titans play the Falcons in their second preseason game on Friday night. Justin and I are about to preview that game. What are we looking for from Cam Ward? What are the most important position battles still up in the air? We're going to talk through it all. This is the Music City Audible. Let's get to it.
And just from the stability standpoint, just me and Coach Callahan just continuously building our relationship like we've been doing since he drafted me. He's one of the best head coaches out there. And I want to be a reason why at the end of the year he can be one of the top 5 head coaches in the NFL.
Oh, welcome everyone to another episode of the Music City Audible podcast presented by Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville. In partnership with 440 Sports, I'm Justin Graver. With me, as always, Justin Melo. Justin, Cam Ward spoke after practice yesterday. We started recording our post-practice pod as the presser was happening, so we missed a little bit of what he said and didn't get a chance to talk about it yesterday. So I wanted to bring it up today. That was Cam Ward calling Brian Callahan a top 5 NFL head coach. And we're going to get to the Titans-Falcons preseason preview game, but I think this whole Cam Ward thing is a good place to start because we're going to talk about Cam Ward and what we're looking for from him. How's it going, Justin?
I'm doing well. You can ding me for the doing well twice if you'd like, but that Cam Ward quote there at the end, that one gave me goosebumps. That was one of my favorite things he has said since being drafted by the Titans. That final sentence when he said, I want to be the reason why he's considered a top 5 head coach in the NFL. It honestly gave me goosebumps. That is one hell of a quote by Titans rookie quarterback Cam Ward.
And this quote is sort of blowing up. All the aggregators got their hands on it. Dov Kleiman, Ari Myrov. This one and another quote that I'm going to play in just a second about his receiving core. And to me, it's like it's such a non-story, but it's becoming a story because it's mid-August and there's not that much to talk about in terms of actual football. It's just hilarious to me, all these people who are like, oh, Cam Ward's delusional. Most of the comments are, how does this guy already have CTE? He hasn't even played a game yet. And it's like, does anyone think Cam Ward called Treylon Burks a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL on a Fortnite stream before the draft? Like, we know this is what Cam Ward does. He hypes up his guys. He doesn't actually know what a top 5 head coach in the NFL is because he's only been coached by one guy. He has no frame of reference to call Brian Callahan a top 5 head coach. But I like the part of it that you focused on, Justin, which is that he wants to be the reason. Like, he knows there is a lot riding on him here in Tennessee in terms of the fan base's hopes, the coaching staff's jobs, like the city being, enjoying watching football again for the first time in at least, 4 or 5 years, and having some prolonged, sustained success. Because this answer came to a question about stability and about the organization not really having stability. And Cam Ward says he wants to be the reason that changes. So I love this quote. I love that Cam Ward hypes up his guys. I don't care if other fan bases want to watch this clip or the one I'm about to play and just laugh at Titans fans for thinking that they have a top 5 head coach and a top 5 receiver when most of the NFL world is predicting that they finish last in the AFC South with probably no more than 5 wins. My buddy Connor Orr for Sports Illustrated predicted that the Titans will go 3-14 again this year. So that's how the national media and the national outside perspective views the Titans right now. Cam Ward has a chance to change that. And I just love that he goes to the podium and doesn't care that what he's saying is absolute nonsense. He's like, I'm going to be there and have the backs of the people that I believe in, that I go to battle with every day. And that's a leading by example thing where the rest of the team sees that and can rally around it.
I'm fully with you, and I'll say this. Teammates, guys like Van Jefferson, who they know, is in a make-or-break year to even try to extend his NFL career, in all honesty. A guy like Tyler Lockett, who knows he's at the end. Rookies who are just finding their way in the NFL, Alec Ioman or Shimere DK. I think comments like this helps them play with confidence, right? Like, if my quarterback believes in me, if my quarterback has faith in my ability, then I better have some damn faith in myself. So I agree. Like, the aggregators, they'll have their fun. Cam Ward has no idea what he's saying. Titans have one of the worst receiving cores in the NFL. I have no problem with that because all that matters is the opinion of the guys in that room, and they know with 100% certainty that their quarterback believes in them and has their backs.
Yeah, so let's get to that second quote. This is Cam Ward talking about his wide receivers.
I think I honestly have a top 5 receiver core in the NFL, including the young guys who are able to make plays. It's really all about just us or myself putting the ball in their frame of work, letting them make a play. And then it's also those guys being aggressive to make plays for the team. And then the O-line, I don't have to worry about them. That's going to always be the standpoint. Those guys, they bring the energy every day, especially starting with JC. So I'm excited to be behind those guys. Those guys pass protection. They keep me clean. Really, I would say 8 times out of 10. I know I'm going to take a bad sack this year. They're going to give up a sack this year, but we just got to continue to play, good, clean football.
Again, totally agree. It's not about whether or not this is a top 5 receiving core. It's about what he's saying after. Like, I know it's my job to sort of be a point guard and get the ball to these guys so they can make plays. And it's their job when it's 3rd and long and nobody's open and I got to throw the ball up to somebody. It's their job to make a play sometimes too. And we both have to do that for each other if we want the offense to be successful. He also said in this press conference that he thinks the Titans can be a top 10 offense this year. And why wouldn't he think that? I mean, forget the national expectations. This guy just came off a historic season at Miami, led the NCAA in touchdown passes, broke the NCAA record for touchdown passes. Miami was scoring 35 points a week, almost every week, most weeks over 40 points. Like, in his mind, if he plays football the way that he knows how to play football, why couldn't the Titans have a top 10 offense? Offensive production is so reliant on having a quarterback that can move the ball, that can convert 3rd downs, that can create explosive plays, that can make things happen when the defense wins the early part of a down. And Cam Ward, as far as we know right now, can do all of those things. Can he do it at a high level in the NFL? Obviously, that's TBD. But why wouldn't he go into the season thinking he can have a top 10 offense? Like, the Titans should be concerned if he went to the podium and said, man, I don't know, we might be a bottom 10 offense this year. Or if he said, man, I don't know, my wide receivers are kind of ass if you look around. I don't have a Jamar Chase and a T. Higgins combo to throw to. Like, what else is he going to say in this situation? So I love it. I absolutely love listening to him talk. Like, I don't know what it is. He's magnetic. I love it.
I'm fully on board with you again, right? The guy's electric. He's the number 1 overall quarterback in the draft for a reason. Historically impressive for the Miami Hurricanes last year. And as no one has a top 10 offense in the NFL when they've got, Daniel Jones at quarterback or Justin Fields or, Bo Nix even. So for me, why wouldn't he believe in himself to that? The top 10 offense is going to be very reliant on the performance of the quarterback as per usual. So, and he's got full faith in himself. So yeah, he believes that he could lead a top 10 offense. He led the best offense in the nation last year.
So let's talk about what we hope to see from him as he tries to lead this offense on Friday night as the Titans take on the Atlanta Falcons, 6 p.m. Central start time. And Justin, we can now confirm, there were reports yesterday unconfirmed. Today, we can now confirm that we will be live streaming our recap of this game on Friday night, probably around 9:15, 9:30 Central Time, depends on when the game ends. But as soon as the game ends, we're going to try to get on here as fast as we possibly can. And if you are just waiting around looking for a notification, well, guess what? Subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell, and you'll get a YouTube notification as soon as we go live, so you will not miss it. You can get in here, hop in the chat, drop some comments, ask us some questions. We'll be very interactive with the chat during that recap pod, and you guys can help us out, because if we miss anything, bring it up in the chat and we'll probably talk about it on the show. So be there tomorrow night for us recapping Titans-Falcons preseason week 2. But first, Justin, we need to preview Titans-Falcons preseason week 2. So Cam Ward last week, we all saw it. Fairly impressive debut for the rookie. He did go 3 and out on his first drive, but I think the Van Jefferson drop on second down was a pretty big factor in that. And if you watch the all-22 from the end zone cam, you can pretty clearly see that it hits Van Jefferson in the hands. And the cornerback there does a nice job to sort of break the pass up, but that's also one that you have to catch. Cam Ward then on third down should have hung in the pocket, should have stepped up and found Calvin Ridley coming open across the middle. Tyler Lockett was also open. And Cam Ward said that at the podium in the post-game press conference, that it didn't take him till Monday morning or whenever to go watch the film and realize what he did wrong. He knew it. He had such good recall of the exact moments, because Paul Kaharski asked a question. He's like, oh, you mean the one on second down? No, here's what happened on second down. Here's what happened on third down. I bailed too early. I had 2 guys open. He knew exactly. He could visualize exactly what he missed on that play. So here's the number one thing I'm looking for from Cam Ward, is to show a little bit of growth and a little bit of improvement. He has said it. Brian Callen has said it. He doesn't make the same mistake twice, right? They've said that multiple times. Let's go out and prove that on Friday night when you have the opportunity to stand in there in a clean pocket and navigate the pressure and find somebody open on third down. I want to see him do it. I don't want to see him bailing out of clean pockets on Friday night. That's number one.
And the offensive line was so good in that game that he's, I think he'll grow that confidence behind that line as the year goes. I mean, that's the hope. We've got expectations for this remade offensive line. And honestly, it's uncharacteristic of him. Like, one of his best traits at Miami was his poise in the pocket, right? He's not a guy that bails early and kind of gets himself into trouble in the pocket. So that was a little uncharacteristic for him, but he's a rookie quarterback in the NFL, so he's going to do the occasionally uncharacteristic thing. But I'm with you. I'd like to see some growth there. But outside of that, I'll be honest with you, I was incredibly pleased with this performance, right? He was 5 of 8. He led that incredible touchdown drive on his second possession, a 65-yard drive that was mostly done through the air. I mean, 27 of those yards came on his first completion to Calvin Ridley. So for me, a bit more of the same. Maybe wipe out that mistake. Maybe don't have a turnover. Don't have a near interception like he had against the Bucs. And I'll be like, going into this a little selfishly, I was hoping he was going to play a bit more. But Brian Callahan confirmed at the podium, probably more of the same 2-ish drives for him. I totally get it, so I'm not going to sit here and complain. I get why you're not going to play him for a whole half. It's still the preseason. It's knock on wood. You certainly don't want him to get hurt, and you certainly don't want to show too much. I mean, he said himself, and I guess of course he's going to say this, but he said himself to a question in response to, I think, Paul Kaharski, I feel ready to go play a regular season game tomorrow. So
right.
Not shocked. The Titans aren't going to alter their approach here, and he's going to play probably 2 drives again. I can't wait to see those 2 drives. I'll tell you that right now. Like, that's my excitement going into this Titans preseason game, is to see Cam Ward play however long, however short it is, and to hopefully come away with it saying, hey, he showed some growth as a quarterback.
Yeah, growth is what we're looking for. Brian Callahan also said after the first game that Cam Ward, after that second possession, was begging to go back in for more. And Callahan was like, no, you've done enough. So I do wonder, if they go 3 and out twice, does Cam Ward play a third drive? I would say probably. Yeah. If they lead 1 or 2 touchdown drives, his day's probably done after 2. I would like to see, and this, Justin, this is totally selfish on my part. Like, this is Titans fandom coming through. I want the guy to throw a touchdown pass. Like, I love that he led a touchdown drive, and it's great that Tony Pollard muscled his way into the end zone and broke a tackle and pushed the pile past the goal line. But I want to see my quarterback throw a touchdown pass. Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, all these rookie, even Tyler Shook threw a long touchdown pass after he threw a pick six. Like, all these other rookie quarterbacks got to go out there and experience that feeling of throwing an NFL touchdown, even if it's in a preseason game. I want Cam Ward to get that. And I want him to get the attention for it the next morning or Monday morning on all the talk shows when they're talking about preseason and who played well and who stood out. Like, I want them to show a highlight of Cam Ward throwing a touchdown. It's stupid. It doesn't actually mean anything, but it would be good for his confidence, for the offense's confidence, for Titans fans, and for the media attention that would come with it. We'd get some good insight and quotes and stuff from national people. So I want him to throw a touchdown pass. If that means, I don't want him to force anything. If he leads 2 touchdown drives and they score twice on the ground, that's great. I'll be very happy with that. I just want to see it. Also, I'm making videos. I'm making a season hype video. I could use a replay of a touchdown pass in that video just to hype things up a little bit more. So that's something else I'm looking for.
I'm with you. You hear that, Brian Callahan? We're looking to get Cam Ward a touchdown pass in this game. Nick Holtz, make it happen. You call up that play, get Cam Ward a touchdown in the preseason game.
And beyond that, yeah, I agree with what you said. Keep things clean. Keep the operation clean. It sounded like in Wednesday's practice, or maybe it was Tuesday's, but one of these 2 joint practices this past week, that they were running things at a very fast tempo, getting in and out of the huddle quickly, getting to the line of scrimmage quickly. And the more you can do that, the better it's going to be for Cam Ward, the easier it's going to be for him to recognize things pre-snap and have time to sort of assess the defensive look that is facing him. And also, they could run some no-huddle stuff, some up-tempo stuff, just to practice it, honestly, because they are going to need to do that at points during the regular season. We talked about how he looked good in a 2-minute drill, I think last week in Bucs joint practice, because you don't have to think as much. You're just like, you're in the flow, you're in the rhythm, you're in hurry up. So you're just going and going and going. And I'd like to see, I don't know if they'll break that out in the first 2 possessions of a preseason game, but I do think we could see some faster operations in and out of the huddle just based on what we heard this week at practice. But just keep things clean. Like you said, don't put a ball in harm's way that's potentially interceptable. If you're trying to throw the ball out of bounds or throw it away, get it out of bounds. After yesterday, he threw an interception doing that. And last week he had one that landed right at the sideline. Just get the ball out of bounds. and overall keep things clean, but also continuing to do what he did last week, which was, see things quickly, get the ball out at the top of his drop, converted multiple third downs with his arm with some nice throws in there, not just wide open passes or schemed up screen type swing, whatever, like actual drop back, read the field, throw the ball on third down, convert it. Keep doing that stuff, and I think we'll be very happy. I am looking for mostly more of the same that we saw last week, with maybe another step forward in terms of eliminating those two plays that I would grade as pretty negative, the almost interception and the throwaway on the first third down. So I think that's what we're looking for from Cam Ward. Did you have anything else you wanted to say there? If not, you can take it to position battles. But what about any last thoughts on Cam Ward before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, for me, you're right. Those are the two negatives. I'm in full agreement. And avoiding a turnover, I think, would be great. He did that successfully in week 1. A little bit of luck involved in that. So you'd like to see him maybe replicate that without some luck involved. I do want to talk a little about position battles, because this is the second of 3 preseason games. Brian Callahan said at the podium yesterday, what are we, like 2 weeks away from cutting down the roster? In my opinion, the majority of those decisions will have been made after this preseason game. Now, I'm not saying that the hay's in the barn, so to speak, but going to be really hard, I think, to change this coaching staff's mind on this 53-man roster after this game. You've got 1 game left. Usually teams use it as I don't know that Cam Ward will play in the 3rd game. I mean, maybe he will, but you're really afraid of getting hurt in that game. You're closer to week 1. Remember, they had an injury in the first preseason game. Tajay Spears, high ankle sprain, going to be out for a little while. I think they're going to be a little hesitant to field anyone important in that 3rd preseason game. We'll see. But when it comes to position battles, I do think the Titans have a decent amount of them, maybe a couple that are flying under the radar. So every year, something surprises us on the 53-man roster, right? And sometimes usually it's 2 or 3 surprises, whether it's a guy that got cut, a guy that made it that you didn't have on there initially. So I've spent the last couple of days trying to identify those opportunities. Like, what might be something realistic I could point out that could surprise us? And we're probably going to talk about this a lot when we do a 53-man roster episode. I'm just trying to focus on the battles for now. Yesterday evening, I spent hours talking to league sources close to the team, sources within the building, about a couple of guys that I think have a underrated chance to make a push here. Guys that you're not really seeing on many 53-man roster projections right now. I'll kind of just go through the list in order. By position. Like, I look at running back, I'm predicting that Tajay Spears is going to start on the PUP right now. That high ankle sprain, we saw a clip of him surfaced around social media the other day where he was on crutches.
Yeah.
Like, the Titans were, I think, at laser tag or something along those lines of team bonding, and he was on crutches or karaoke, something like that. And he was on. So I don't know that he's going to be on the initial 53. I look at that number 3 spot. I'm giving Khalil Maulings the second running back spot now. If they only keep 3, what I'm projecting, a lot of people are going to give that spot to Julius Chestnut, and I get that. But what about a guy like Jordan Mims, who's had the occasional impressive rep at training camp, has history with Titans assistant general manager Dave Ziegler. They were together in New Orleans last year, and has some experience playing on special teams as well. I don't think that spot is a foregone conclusion for Julius Chestnut. I mean, he'd probably be my favorite right now, but I think there's a chance for a guy like Jordan Mims to make a push there. I'm not going to spend a lot of time at wide receiver because I think it's the same thing we've talked about. James Prochet, Xavier Restrepo, Jaquan Jackson. I kind of see that. Maybe something will surprise me, but I see that final spot as like a 3-way battle. I got Prochet as the leader in the clubhouse because of what he does on special teams and what he's done as a receiver at camp. But they've liked Jaquan Jackson. I think there's still some wiggle room for Xavier Restrepo. Maybe Xavier Restrepo goes out, has a big game on Friday, now that Tim Boyle won't be his quarterback, and he's got a much more competent guy in Trevor Siemian in that spot. Interrupt me if you want to say anything about these, but if not, I'll keep going.
Yeah, I'll quickly talk about Xavier Restrepo from the standpoint of, like, can he play more than 11 snaps? Like, I get it. He's a slower, undersized, slot-only wide receiver. I get it. He's got an uphill battle to make this roster. but can we give him a chance? Can we see if he would make plays if he played more than 11 snaps with Tim Boyle at quarterback? Yes, Trevor Siemian is a more competent arm, but if he only plays 11 snaps, he's not going to have the opportunity to make plays. And I know it's a lot of just fan wish casting that we'd hope Xavier Restrepo makes the team and gets to play with Cam Ward, but it would be he was an extremely productive receiver in college. And I get it, somebody that came to mind for me the other night when I was thinking about Restrepo, I was rewatching the game, just thinking about Restrepo. Remember Ryan Swisher?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
He was a super productive, smaller slot receiver out of North Carolina, I believe, who did he go potentially undrafted maybe, or maybe it was a late day 3 pick? And a lot of people had a lot of hope and hype for him before the draft, and then he just disappeared into obscurity because he's a slow slot only wide receiver. And he was savvy enough to make plays at the college level, but we see it all the time where guys who excel in college don't necessarily excel in the NFL. And that might be Xavier Restrepo's story, but I'd just like to see it I'd like to see that have a chance to not be the case and not have it pre-written that, if he only plays 11 snaps. So anyway, that was my Xavier Restrepo thought. I do think that battle is still going to come down to special teams and not necessarily what they do at receiver. And that's why James Prochet is such a leader in our minds, because he has been he had a super solid punt return, even though it got called back by holding in last week's game. He's been making plays as a receiver at camp. So I think that you said we've talked a lot about it, and I agree, but that's still one of the most interesting battles for us because receiver is an interesting position, and it'll be fun to see how that shakes out. And all of us, I think, many of us, I shouldn't say us, many Titans fans are rooting for Xavier Restrepo to at least get a chance to do something. And so that's where hopefully we'll see that, but who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. That's certainly one that'll be exciting to monitor. I'll keep going down the list here at tight end. Same thing that we've been talking about. That I think there's only 3 spots on this roster at tight end. That number 3 role: David Martin, Robinson, Josh Wiley, Thomas Odukoya. I think they're fighting for 1 spot. I said the same at running. Possibility they keep 4 tight ends. Possibility they keep 4 running backs, right? But for me, I think it'll be 3 at each spot, and there's some competition there. I go down the offensive line. 2 position battles, in my opinion. At backup tackle, I think Jalen Duncan's got a stranglehold on that job right now, but you've got Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon, the UDFA, who they gave a lot of money to, and you've also got John Njoku, who's made this roster a couple times. I think there's probably only 1 spot between those 3 guys. I look at the same thing in the interior. We know Corey Levin and Jackson Slater are both making this team. I think there's room for 1 more backup there. I thought it was going to be Blake Hance because they really like his guard tackle flexibility, but he's been hurt. He's finally getting back into the swing of things. Andrew Rupcich started at right guard in week 1 of the preseason. I think that's going to happen again because Brian Callahan confirmed that Kevin Zeitler will not play in this game. Does Blake Hance get a chance to start this one if he's healthy enough? He's got to make a push because I thought he was for sure going to make this roster for a bit. Now I'm thinking maybe it's Andrew Rupcich, even though he doesn't have, the guard tackle flexibility. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, I've got 5 interior D linemen probably competing for 1 spot. I thought it was intriguing that Timmy Horn started that game essentially in place of Tavondre Sweat. I made a note next to that now that Keandre Coburn's not on this roster. Maybe he's the Tavondre Sweat backup. Carlos Watkins finally returned to practice after missing a couple. I hope he plays in this game because I think he could make a push for that spot. And then the 3 DFAs, Cam Horsley, Philip Leedy, Isaiah Rakes. If you watch the all-22 of the Bucs game, all of them flashed kind of occasionally. They all had their moments where they made some plays, clogged lanes at the line of scrimmage. I think there's only 1 spot for those 5 guys, and I think it's realistic that any of them have a chance to make this team. Getting to linebacker, I'll get to cover some news here. The Titans waived Otis Reese yesterday. We've talked a lot about Otis Reese, but we've been saying, he didn't play in the preseason game. That was really peculiar. The Titans have sounded disappointed with him earlier at OTAs when he had an injury and couldn't participate. I don't think the coaching staff likes him. I think that almost confirms it. They cut him on Wednesday. They didn't play him in the preseason. I don't know if he had an injury, but he wasn't waived injured, so it just feels like there's something there. This staff is not an Otis Reese guy. They claim Brian Asamoah off waivers from the Minnesota Vikings, a 2022 third-round pick, who hasn't lived up to expectations, in all honesty. He played 110 defensive snaps as a rookie, And that's the most defensive snaps he's ever played.
Wow.
He's essentially a special teams only guy as a sophomore and third-year pro. Well, last year, his third year, he was their third most snapped player on special teams for the Minnesota Vikings. So this might be a special teams thing. I think immediately when he comes in here, they waive Reese. Anthony Orji had a season-ending injury. We know Cedric Gray's a third linebacker. Who's the fourth? And maybe who's the fifth? I've got him keeping 5 linebackers. I don't think that, that's not for sure. Maybe they only keep 4 because they don't have a lot of talent there, in all honesty. But immediately I go, Brian Asamoah could make this team. They've signed 3 linebackers this week. They're telling you what they think about the linebackers. Kaliki Hudson and Blake Lynch were the other 2. It's a free-for-all for these reserve spots at linebacker. They've also got Amari Burney and Curtis Jacobs still on the team. So it really is a free-for-all at inside linebacker. At edge, I think you've probably got 3 guys competing for one spot. I think Jalen Harrell probably the slight favorite, but he was dealing with an injury, right? I think he just got back from it, but he missed some crucial reps. Maybe it's even 50-50. They've got Ali Gay, who they've also essentially played just as much as Jalen Harrell has as a Tennessee Titan. So that's a 50-50 battle. They've also got a UDFA, Desmond Evans, who I've talked about a bit, former 5-star recruit from North Carolina. All these guys I'm mentioning are ones I think have a realistic chance to make this team. Like, you'll notice I didn't mention Drake Dabney at tight end. When I was talking interior linemen, I didn't talk about Sam Mustipher or Brendan James. I'm giving you the names, some of the back-end ones that could realistically surprise you and beat out a Jalen Harrell, beat out a Julius Chestnut, things of that nature. I go now. So I talked about edge. I talked about linebacker. I talked about D-line. I'll go to corner. I think they keep 6, and I think Gabe Judy-Lally is pretty clearly the number 6.
Yeah.
But the UDFAs, Davion Ross and Jermari Harris are the only 2 that I would say even have a remote chance to kind of change the numbers there. I want to talk about safety because I'm more excited about, I think there's more competition at that spot. I think they keep 5. I used to think Mike Brown was the number 4. Well, now I think he's the number 5. I know he's the number 5 after the Quandre Diggs signing. I don't think I talked about Chestnut. I don't think Mike Brown's a foregone conclusion. I like him, but Quandre Diggs changed the mat there. I also like Julius Wood, who's a couple of years younger and is a really good special teams guy too. So I think this would, when they cut Keandre Coburn, we were surprised, right? They want to give the young guys a chance to show something. Julius Wood, a couple years younger, I like him. Kendall Brooks has had a really good training camp. I think this is a 3-way battle for that 5th safety spot, in all honesty. And it's one of those that I earmark as a potential surprise on the 53-man. If it's not Mike Brown, I think it qualifies as the surprise, right? Not the expectation. So I did it. I ran through every single player and position battle that I wanted to run through. After some talks with league sources within the Titans building, a couple of those names I give you, I won't tip you off too much, but a couple of those names I think are a bit more well-liked than the general Titans fan realizes. And I do that to say second preseason game, probably your last opportunity-ish. Because, yes, a lot of these guys will play a lot in the third preseason game, so there's a chance there. But I think for the most part, a lot of the decisions will be pretty close to have been made.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I had to give you a round of applause there for running through all that. Excellent work. Excellent job, Justin. But yeah, this is the time when the decisions start to be made, because we know from experience that coaching staffs generally value joint practice reps more than any other preseason training camp rep, that the preseason games matter a little bit, but those practices matter a lot. And the Titans are done with those. So next week, they'll be back in Nashville for their last week of official training camp, I believe, or what official training camp might be. They don't do the thing where they actually go camp for 20-something days anymore. So I'm not sure where the line gets drawn between technically it is still training camp or it's just practices getting ready for week 1. Regardless,
I think after the third preseason game and you set the 53, that's this is practice for week 1.
Okay, that might be the case, but I kind of remember training camp ending earlier and whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is, I agree with you, because after that third preseason game, you're talking about making cuts on Tuesday. Most of those decisions have been made in advance. And there's a lot of guys on this roster who aren't even competing with the players on this roster. They're competing with the entire pool of players who are going to get cut next or in 2 weeks because
number one waiver priority.
Titans just used it on Brian Asamoah, as we said, and they're going to continue using it. And all those positions where they have 5 D linemen, like maybe none of them make it, or maybe one of them makes it for 24 hours and then gets cut. Same thing with the cornerback. Same thing with every position, the end, back end of the offensive line, linebacker. Like literally every position is in jeopardy except for, well, I wouldn't even say except for, maybe except for wide receiver. I don't think they're going to add a quarterback off the street. They're probably pretty set at safety, but like every other position.
Yeah, I think they're set at tight end. And I would say tight end, safety. I agree with that. And call me crazy. I think O-line as well. Like, I think, they like Jalen, like Corey Levin, Jackson Slater, Jalen Duncan. I don't think these guys are going to be the ones getting replaced by waiver claims, right? So it's corner, it's linebacker, it's edge, maybe interior D-line for that 5th spot. But for me, linebacker, corner, and edge are the real obvious ones.
Yeah, so those guys are really, like, they need to go make an impression. Guys at the back end of the roster need to go prove that they belong on this team, not just over somebody else that's currently in the room, but over the potential of somebody else joining the room. So that's what I'm most interested to watch. The sense of urgency is coming up. And then quickly on the other rookies, there's one other thing I really want to see in this game, and that's Femi Oladejo make an impact. I think coming out of last week, there were mixed reviews on how well he played and where he messed up and if he messed up or whatever. But there were definitely multiple snaps where he was not in position to really set the edge, or he crashed inside too hard. He didn't beat his man in terms of a pass rush. Like, I think he had a 0% pass rush win rate in that game. So let's see him generate a pressure at some point. Let's see him get a run stop on the end where he sets the edge well, strong, and takes down the running back. Let's see some growth, because last week was his first time playing this position against NFL caliber competition in a officiated game, right? And it was against backups, so it wasn't against like high level NFL caliber competition, but better than what he faced at UCLA. And I would like to see him show that he belongs a little bit, that he has a chance to make an impact this year, because let's be honest, the odds of him making an impact as a project player making a position switch are fairly low. But the need for him to make an impact in a room where the Titans have very little options in terms of guys who can go make a play from the edge position, that's very high. The Titans need him to make an impact if they want a chance to win games this year. And maybe they don't. Maybe they don't want a chance to win games this year. Maybe it's all about Cam Ward's growth and getting a high draft pick. Maybe that's the plan. But like, good luck convincing Jeffrey Simmons that that's the plan, right? Like that, no player on the team is playing a game and putting their body on the line for that plan. So the Titans need Femi Oladejo to just show growth. He doesn't have to be great in week 1. He needs to be showing that he belongs in the league by week 10, by week 15. So let's see the first baby step of that growth, and let's just see a better game than what we saw on Friday, because I think there maybe have been a couple of encouraging moments, but overall, I think it was a disappointing debut for Femi Oladejo.
It was a disappointing debut, and I don't got a lot to add because I'm with you. I think this fan base would just almost let out a breath of relief if he just did something splash. It might not mean a ton, but I think everyone would feel good if he makes a splash play on Friday. I'll add Alec Iomanner to that. I thought he didn't have the greatest days against the Falcons. Joint practices felt like a welcome to the NFL moment for him. I thought he took a bit of a step back in those 2 days with the Falcons. Chimere DK, neither of them really made a play in the preseason game either. I thought DK was good against the Falcons in joint practices. Iomanner so much wasn't. So I'm putting more pressure on Iomanner. Would love to see him make a play on Friday, but I'd love to see Chimere DK make one too.
So by all accounts, Chimere DK was making plays in practice this week.
Yes.
And neither one of them did much in preseason week 1, but DK did have a nice kickoff return where he took the ball out to like the 33-yard line, ran through a tackle at the end of it. And like, that was a promising moment. And I know a touchback takes you to the 35, but we have to stop thinking of it like if you don't get to the touchback spot, then it was a bad return, because the balls are being kicked shorter this year. And this is going to be a thing that I'm interested in seeing. First of all, Joey Sly kicked off too many touchbacks in week 1. preseason week 1. Let's see fewer touchbacks because we don't need the other team starting at the 35-yard line. See fewer touchbacks, and then on the Titans side, let's see the returns continue to be good because I thought that they had generally pretty good field position for most of the drives there because they had good kickoff returns and pretty good punt returns outside of when they committed a penalty. And DK looks like a guy that can be your day one kickoff returner in the NFL based on what he did last week. I wonder how much they're going to rotate guys at that spot and give them more chances. So we'll see if he even gets an opportunity to return a kick in this game. But yeah, I'd love to see him or Manor make a play on offense at some point. But again, how much are they going to play with Cam Ward? Maybe 1 or 2 series where Van Jefferson is also going to get reps. And I don't know how much Tyler Lockett plays in the preseason, but he was out there with Cam Ward for that whole drive last week. So maybe he does that again. And then we'll see if the rookies can make connections with Brandon Allen, or maybe they'll work them in more with Cam Ward this week. I'd like to see it. Those guys making plays would be huge for this offense. And we saw Easton Freeze tweeted, I think it was yesterday, that there have been 4 guys that have received the lion's share of targets that seem like there are designed plays for them and designed touches for them, or Cam Ward just has something with them where he likes to throw the ball. Obviously, Calvin Ridley was at the top of that list. Chigakonkwo was on that list. Alec Iamaner was on that list, and Tony Pollard was on that list. So those, according to Easton Freeze, have been Cam Ward's 4 most targeted players. If that's the case, let's see Alec Iamaner do something, as you said, in this game.
Yeah, wouldn't mind seeing him get some reps with Cam Ward, especially after Van Jefferson dropped that pass in week 1. But we'll see. Friday night can't come here soon enough. As you said, we will be back live streaming right after the game ends, hopefully within 5 minutes of that final whistle. Graver and I will be hopping on a live stream right here on the YouTube via the channel, of course, Music City Audible. Excited to kind of recap what happens. You guys had great feedback last week, and it wasn't even you and I. It was me and Ryan Watson who stepped in for you. So I think you guys are absolutely going to love the live stream on Friday evening. Make sure you tune in for your instant analysis of the Titans Week 2 preseason game.
Well said, Justin. I'm excited to interact with you guys because we, every episode we put out, we ask you guys to get in the comments and we go down and respond to you. Let's do it live. Let's do it in real time. You drop a live chat comment, we'll respond, we'll answer, we'll talk about whatever topics are interesting to you guys because that's the whole point of this show. One last thing I want to see in this game, Justin. The Titans only kicked off twice in that game. I said they kicked off too many touchbacks a few minutes ago. They only kicked off twice. They scored 1 touchdown. And they kicked off to begin the first half, so the start of the game. Score more touchdowns or kick some field goals so you can kick off more, because that's going to be a huge part of football this season with the new rules, with the new touchback rules. Let's see the operation. But in order to practice it, you got to score. And in order to score, you have to play well and not have Tim Boyle throw 2 interceptions with a 0.6 passer rating. All right, that'll do it for this one. Thanks to everyone out there. Thanks to Sinkers Beverages for supporting the channel. Thanks to all of you for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button on the video. Subscribe to the channel. As I said, hit the bell so you get an alert as soon as we are live. And drop your thoughts in the comments below. What do you most want to see? If you could pick one thing you want to see in this game, is it a Cam Ward touchdown? Is it a Femi Oladejo sack? Is it a big play by one of the rookies? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll be back Friday night around 9, but sometime between 9 and 9:20 p.m. Central Time, depending on when the game ends. So until then, y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.